Let me know that you can hear me. That would be great. Perfect. I see some hands going up. First of all, I want to thank all of you guys for attending the meeting on Monday. There's a lot of information that we relayed to you guys, and there's going to be an awful lot of more information coming your way. But I think it was a really productive session, and we really want your feedback on that too. So, any comments or questions, please obviously forward them our way. I'm starting off the meeting, and I'm going to turn it over to Natasha. She's going to go through some items with the WorkNet. But one of the things, I want you to make sure that you download the information in the file downloads. There is the procedures manual. It is kind of a final version, but that's going to be somewhat fluid too as we go along, and if there's additional processes that we realize that we need to incorporate, we can always do that. The procedures manual will also be in WorkNet resources, so that'll be available for you there too. And we also had a Dhs survey just with some questions on your program administration. That's available in SurveyMonkey now. I know a few of you gave us your forms, but if you don't mind going into SurveyMonkey and completing that in there, that would be great. I'd like to have that completed by close of business on Friday. We are moving grants. They're all in e-grant system. I'm working with our legal staff, and since she's been working diligently so we can get these out as soon as possible. They're in director review right now, and once they're approved by the director, then I can get your intent to fund letters out for those that need intent to fund letters. But I'm really excited about the project. I think, we've got a long way to go. There's still a lot to be established and developed, but we're getting there. And like I said, the orientation processes are starting to go a little bit smoother. We're anxious to see how that translates to you guys for referrals. So with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Natasha, and then she is going to give her presentation on the WorkNet. Thanks so much.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kimmy. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because what we're going to do today is we're going to go over the progress page that we touched on Monday, and this is on test. But I want you to know, as I'm covering this up, you will, if you haven't had a chance to mark yourselves as present in the CBO polling question that's there to identify your organization, you'll have a chance to do that after towards the end of the webinar. Okay, so I want to also let you know that at the top of what we call a pod, where I'm sharing my screen, there is an icon with 4 arrows that are pointing outward. So if you ever need to have a larger view of what I'm doing on my screen, you can select that icon. It'll make it full screen. Select it again, and then it'll go back to the size it is right now. Okay, so what you're looking at is I am logged into test, and I'm logged in as a CBO that is on test. So one of the new things that we'll be rolling out is the enrolled dashboard. And so we had kind of talked about this the other day. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So you'll notice the menus kind of changing because it uses responsive design. But I want to zoom in so you can see what some of these categories are. So the first section of this dashboard is an area that gives the status of the referral for the initial appointment. So we have added, or we are in the process, it's not out to production yet, it's on test, where you can enter in the appointment time, and then you'll know who has appointment times. And so will the DHS staff. They'll be able to look at this dashboard as well. You'll be able to see who has scheduled appointment times, so you can click on that link to get to those customers. You'll see, again, as a reminder, once a person has a scheduled initial visit with that 2151 form, then you have 48 hours to update the information. So if this line item right here is referral pending, so it shows that it's been 48 hours past the scheduled appointment time. So it's a yellow color. We'll also be adding a little triangle here that shows that action is required. so the point here is that you'll have a filtered list of customers so that you can see, oh, darn it, I have 2 people. I already did their initial appointment. I just didn't get a chance to upload the 2151 form. So you can go ahead and click on that and take care of them. And when they no longer meet that criteria, then they'll go ahead and move on down to the green section. Again, you get the filtered list to find out the people who don't show up to their appointment. And then you have a filtered list to find out, to identify those customers where you're requesting DHS to follow up with those individuals. And then, they completed their appointment, and then their enrollment in your program has been verified. And then also you can see a filtered list of any of those individuals that a DHS staff person has indicated as not SNAP eligible. Okay, so for today, we're going to go ahead and select this appointment has not been scheduled because I have 5 people that fall into this category. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so you're going to see your list of customers, and this person is a test person, and they have multiple people here. So you would see your agency listed here. I would see my listing of customers, and then I can either go to their profile page, which you don't really need that right this moment. That's more like the intake information. The progress page, which is going to be your primary focus right now, and then their plan. That's the I-STEP plan. So we're going to select progress. And as a reminder, the person that comes into your office, they're supposed to bring in their 2151 form, okay? So they'll have that, and you can, fill it out. We're going to have another webinar on filling out the 2151 and 2151A, and we'd like to have that provided by a DHS staff person so we get it right straight from the start. And so you'll have that form, and you can scan it in and select upload, and then you just browse to a document, and I selected this person earlier, so let me just go ahead and upload that file, and then I can upload the document, and I can view the document. So it went to my downloads, but I'll view over here. So I can see this is a different one. I put the 21A in there, but regardless, you'll see you can view the document. If you put in a description, you would see the description. You could remove the document. You'll have right now, since we're working on the calendar tool, right for today. Well, I'm sorry, as soon as it's released, so you'll be able to enter in the appointment date. Okay. So in the future, when this calendar tool is released, then that date will already be set, so you don't have to enter that date. But for the time being, please do enter in the scheduled appointment date, and then that way it provides information back to the DHS staff so they know that that person has been scheduled for an appointment. Okay. And so once the 2151 form is uploaded, then you are allowed to enroll them into the program. I can select enrolled and update that information, and it saves the information for who was the last person that updated the person's information. So you can see with this particular customer, they were initially assigned to culinary arts, but then maybe after they had the initial appointment and we went through their tape tests and we had more discussion about the different types of programs, whatever the case may be. And, you as a CBO, as well as, with an agreement with the customer, decide that, well, really, maybe we should do warehouse and stock clerk. Maybe that's more where I should be. So you can change that to another training program if you offer more than one training program. And again, it identifies who made that change and when they made the change, but you can always see what the initial assignment was by the caseworker from DHS before they were, when they were assigned to you. We still keep track of what their initial assignment was. Okay, and then each month, or when there is a change in their status, whenever 2151A form is needed, then you can upload that form. And we have a link here. So I'm going to click download the 2151 form. I'm going to open it. And this looks like it's it. And I'm working with Standard Bullock. And I can go ahead and maybe I'll just put, they work 20 hours for the week. And then I'm going to fill out this format as I need to, as I've been directed to. And one of the key things that I want to point out is this section, right? I can't really highlight it that well, but it's the situation worse, no progress, minimal progress, acceptable, substantial, non-cooperation, conciliation, and completed. This section right here is what is used to populate the dashboard. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm not going to put anything in there yet just because I want to show you what will happen. Let me go ahead and save this on my sample file. Okay, so I'm going to close that. So I'm going to show you what happens if I don't select any of those options. The system does a check, and it says no client progress fields have been set on the form. So what I have to do is I'm like, oh, darn, I forgot that section. So let me go ahead and go back there and open up that document and change. I'm going to say acceptable progress, and we save it. Now let's save it as 2. And then I'm going to go and upload my form, the one I just updated, and upload it. And so you'll see that I can have the date, what progress was identified. I could click on this link to view the form, and I could see who uploaded that form. Or if I needed to remove it and redo it, then I could do that as well. So again, we're in test, so let's make sure that our dashboard, remember I said acceptable progress. Well, it looks like we need to update, or they're still working on it, because like I said, this is in test. But what you would see is this number change from 0 to 1, because I just indicated that and it made that flag, and I'd be able to have a filtered list of that individual or those individuals that fall within that criteria. So we're still making some updates, doing some testing, but that's the overall. I think it's pretty simple, but so far, that's the progress that we have so far. Like I said, we're testing it, and I'd like to have this released on Monday for you. That's the plan. Let me see. It looks like we had. Okay. If you have a client who comes in, but is not for highly enough for the TABE. Okay. So that's a good question. That can we reassign them to a CBO? In all, you have a couple options. Number one, can reassign them to a training program. But, well, in this case, I can't do it right this second, but let me go back to one of my other customers, how I changed it to warehouse clerk. The very first step is to try to see if they can fall within one of the training programs for your area, for your CBO. If that's not the case, then, or that's just not going to work, then you can do employment-only services and enroll them in employment-only services. And then as a last resort, we would do the switching over to a CBO. And that wasn't in the drop-down. I don't believe they put that there yet. But that will be in this drop-down as far as program assignment. And what that will do is send a flag to the DHS admin and commerce admin. And that way, we can take a look at it, talk to you about, what needs to change, why do they need to switch over. And then we'd have to find out if there's a CBO that they could be switched to. And if that CBO, if there is a CBO, we need to find out if they have openings, and then we need to find out if it's okay with them. So that's the long answer to that. Okay. If I have access to the Epic dashboard, will my case manager? Yes. 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 Yep, you'll be. Okay. And good question. And just so that you know, your DHS caseworkers will be able to see everybody that it's assigned to the offices that they have access to or for a region. And the CBOs will only be able to see the customers that have been assigned to them. So, you very well may not be able to see anybody yet just because they haven't been assigned to you. Okay. Okay, so what I'd like to do now, we will be putting together, before I put this away, let me go back up here. I just wanted to show you that, let's see if I have the page up, that we do have the resources that we used on Monday, and they're from the Epic Partner Guide. They're available under full list of resources or under training materials. They're under both places. Yes, we have the agenda and the PowerPoint over the WorkNet tools. And then some people had asked us about the PowerPoint for the procedures manual, and that's available here as well. And then we will be adding instructions for how to use the progress page, and you can see those under staff instructions. So there's a variety of places. We try to put it in more than one place so that you can have easy access to those instructions. Okay. Okay, I see some typing going on, but I see Dee is also answering those. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my screen share out of the way. And And so there were a lot of really good conversations from yesterday, or from Monday, I should say. And some of the things that came out of it were, one of the main things that came out of it was the concern about having a good referral. So we've been having some discussions about ways that we can have better referrals. And so we had some questions, and let me see real quick. Let me get David or Dee, because these were, let me find out David. Let me go ahead and unmute David real quick. And okay. So David, I just unmuted your phone. So if you want to kind of, walk us through any of the, any discussion around these questions, I'll turn it over to you.
So in my group, when we were talking, we had a lot of discussion about drug testing and getting referrals for drug tests. And nobody really wanted to deny anyone that said that they couldn't pass a drug test, but they also didn't want to accept someone who couldn't pass a drug test either. So one of the things that we thought about was saying, we're going to tell everyone who would be eligible for a program if they were able to pass a drug test to come back. but we were wondering how far back those drug tests will go. So how long do you want the customer to wait before they come back? I know Jane Addams had a 6 months, their drug tests go back 6 months. Other areas were less than that. So this question is basically asking, how long do you want a customer to wait before we tell them to come back before we randomly assign them into the program? For the question, first off, before I get off of that, does anyone have any questions about that? And please write them in the pod. For the second question, I have the current option up there, and then I have kind of two other options which basically mix in some things that I've kind of heard. And if you have other potential things that you would like to add, please feel free to write them in the chat pod. But so the first question is on the participant application. We currently ask what we may find on a background check. They have a felony or misdemeanor or conviction for criminal sexual assault. They have a felony. They have a finding of any kind within the past 7 years. And from our talks, finding was kind of ambiguous. So I kind of changed that in one of the options, but in the other option I kept that. And in the other one, the sexual assault was kind of ambiguous. So on option 3, I changed it to on a sex offender registry because that was something one of the CBOs asked for. So option 2 is I am registered on the sex offender registry. I have a felony conviction, or I have a misdemeanor conviction excluding traffic violations within the past 7 years. Option 3 is I'm registered on the sex offender registry. I have a felony conviction, and I have a finding within the past 7 years. And I'm seeing a lot of people overwhelmingly like option 2 on that. And I'm kind of seeing somewhere between 60 and 120 days on the drug test.
The question, will anyone confirm the questions to answers about conviction?
I'm not entirely sure what the question is.
I would say one of the things that we had talked about, just internally when we were talking about these referrals is that, we did use the family watchdog for the SYEP, and that's for sexual or just, sexual offenders. Do you have a resource that we could look up, if we wanted to do quick checks for those with convictions? And then, so David, just to follow up, piggyback off of the drug test question, what I'm assuming is they're saying is that our question is something to the effect of, do you think you'll be able to pass the following physical exams, like a drug test, a hepatitis, whatever? And if they say yes, are you asking this 30, 60, 90, 120-day question because that's something that additional that we'll have in our training program profile, where as a review team, it's kind of like an additional follow-up question? Or are you proposing that we say, would you be able to pass the drug test
I'm proposing that we kind of have a list of, in the eligibility review screen, there's a list of programs that they are ineligible for, and it gives you exactly the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
So for the ones where it says that you're ineligible because of the drug test, we could put a note next to them and saying, if you want to come back in such and such date.
Gotcha. So it's more on the review side, and more,
So
it's more on
yeah.
the review team side of it. Okay,
So
thank you for
that
clarifying.
would happen on the review side, so they would come back for another random assignment appointment, and then they would be randomly assigned to either the treatment group or the core group if they come back.
Okay, Mike Williams. We can change that to, I think right now, I can't remember what it is, but if it needs to be multi-select, then that's fine. Okay. Let's see, Deidre had asked the question, how are felony waivers considered in this process? From my understanding of a felony waiver, it would be specific for the job, and I would think that would be something that would be done at the CBO side, because right now we can just, it'd be best to assign people that meet the minimum, even though there might be some exceptions.
Yeah, when it came to felony waivers, I found that it's very fluid as to what you can get a waiver for and what you can't get a waiver for. And we might be asking a ton of questions in this in order to get you there, and that might cause a lot of confusion in the application.
Yeah, so they would have to do that for the CBOs. But then Mike has, is the question on convictions just for data collection? No, it is not it's not really.
You're not really huge. You would not believe how many people stop by and
If someone says they have a sexual assault, or they're on a sex offender registry, we won't refer them to a CBO that doesn't allow people on sex offender registries.
Right.
So this
that
is
would
a
be
hard
a hard
stop.
stop. Yeah.
I have the clear basket. Oh, that's cool. And then
Is that you, David?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Well, go ahead and mute yourself, and then that way.
Okay.
And so just because we're getting close to our time, and I want to be mindful of your time, this is helpful, and you can go ahead and continue to enter your comments and questions into the chat. Please do. And one of the things that I wanted to, we need to cover, is that some of the topics for upcoming webinars, right now this is a tentative schedule, but we're planning for next week to have you identify some scenarios. So I need to think a little bit more about this, and if you have suggestions, please feel free to send them to me on, different types of scenarios you might want to consider. But some of the things came up. There were some really, really good questions that came up the other day, like, well, what do we do with a person if they just can't finish their training program because they're in jail now. They've been convicted or something. Or, they got in a car accident or they had a baby, or I don't know what the deals are, but what are those scenarios, or what are some different scenarios of, what should I do with these type of people when this happens? So if we could go through the next webinar and take some time to identify those scenarios, then when we come to our in-person training on the week of May 16th, then we can already go ahead and have, some of those scenarios played out, as well as how we would have the tools set up to deal with those types of situations. And then we have to, I believe Tammy's reaching out to DHS to see if on May 4th we can have some training on how to complete the 2151A and the 2151 form. And then also, if you could send us some of your best practice information, and we can go ahead and have the best practices kind of overview and collection of resources on that webinar, and then we'll have a whole lot of information that we can use for this in-person training. So go ahead and look at your schedules for the week of May 16th. The Chicago training is going to be in Chicago on May 16th, and then we are looking at availability for computer labs for the Springfield training, but that will be scheduled during the week of May 16th. And then also, if you could please turn in those training program update sheets. You can either email them, scan them in, email them to epic@illinoisworknet.com, or you can mail them to me either way, but if you could do that this week, as well as completing the DHS CBO program operations survey. That survey is in the download files in the lower left-hand corner, but please do complete it using the SurveyMonkey, and then we have all the data and everything all together in one place, and we know who has turned it in. And easier to keep track of. So with that, that's all I have for today. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and continue to put them in the chat, and we will either answer them or collect them and provide them as with a follow-up email. So there we go. Okay. Essentially, I do see, okay, so we have 3 programs that we didn't. Oh, okay. Yes. I can do that. I can send those to you. Good. Thank you. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and leave the check-in sheet here so you can check yourself in if you haven't already done so. Other than that, have a great day, and let us know if you need anything. Thanks. Bye-bye.